All right, so thank you guys for joining me tonight for our July movie club. We watched Days of Heaven. So before we get started on this discussion, I am going to go through my standard, housekeeping and letting everybody know how this works. We are trying out a new thing going forward, so please forgive some technical difficulties and things going on. So this is our movie club, but there we go. We have three other clubs here at Dragonfly Arts. You can find us on Facebook by looking up Dragonfly Arts. I think it's Dragonfly Arts Collective.
It's in groups, Dragonfly Arts Group.
All right. For future things, I will
Think.
have that up and we will also link it in the comments below so that you can find us. This is our movie club. We also have a monthly listening club as well as a quarterly book club. This is July, so we actually have all three of our clubs this month. So you should be able to watch those on the 1st of August when they get uploaded to YouTube and comment and communicate with us there. Also on the 1st of August, I'm going to be uploading our new picks into our Facebook group, which is where that link will come in handy. So you can go find us over
Yeah.
there.
Sorry, it's facebook.com/groups/Dragonfly Arts.
Yeah. So yeah, the link will be in the description. Um, And you can just find us there and let us know if you'd like to participate in these calls. If you're not able to join us live, you can always comment on these videos or reach out to me after the fact. I love talking about media. It's why I started these clubs. Um, and we also have a suggestion box in case there's something that you would like to discuss. And all of our past picks. We've been doing this for a few years at this point. And it's not just these clubs. We are just a group of like creatives talking about what it's like to be a creative in the industry. We are Los Angeles based. Um, we have members from all over the world, but if you are in Los Angeles, sometimes we have meetups that are a lot of fun to go to. So definitely check us out over on our Facebook group. And also in the description, I'm going to put a link to our Patreon where you can support us for as little as $2 a month. We don't have anything behind that paywall at this time. We are working on getting it together. It's going a little bit slowly. Things are changing. It happens, but it just helps us support this group and help us support you guys as creatives. So, without further ado, let's talk about Days of Heaven, which, as this picture so clearly notes, it's written and directed by Terrence Malick. It's from 1978, and it's kind of an interesting film. I went on a little bit of a deep dive of this one. So I do want to ask the group, had you guys seen this movie before?
I'd never heard of this movie before.
Me
I
neither.
had heard of the movie. I had never watched. It's a film school movie that I didn't watch. Yeah.
Yeah, I watched it for the first time in college, and then I rented it again when the Criterion Blu-ray came out, which I think was 2010 or so. And now I've got the 4K Criterion Blu-ray in Dolby Vision color. So yeah, I've seen this movie like I don't even know how many times. It's, just a constant presence since 2008, which is probably when I first watched it. So yeah.
Yeah, I really wanted both Derek and Ryan on this call because they are film buffs, and this is a cinematography movie. If there's ever been a cinematography movie. Um, Ryan has opinions. We will
I
get to
have
them.
so many opinions.
Did you guys like the movie?
Don't everybody speak at once.
I read a lot of hype, a lot of praise. Greatest movie ever. More than one reviewer said. But narratively, it's kind of a snooze. Like, yes, there's subtle like Richard Gere looking at through a window, but that can only carry you so far. I was
He
just
looked through that window a lot.
every time like they would catch each other, like, oh, she's probably cheating on me with her brother, maybe. I expected, okay, now the movie's gonna kick in. They're gonna like the story will start. No, no, it's just kind of okay. More contemplative, more of a vibe than a story, I think.
It's a good way to frame it. It wasn't my cup of tea, and I like movies from the 70s, so
Yeah, I do like this one a lot. It is definitely more of a vibe movie. But if you're into those vibes, it's pretty remarkable. But I kind of see it as like a great middle ground between um, well, in Terrence Malick's career, I think he is definitely like an acquired taste. So, in other words, a lot of people just might not like his movies. But in terms of his career, this is kind of like a middle ground between something that has a story and his more experimental, longer stuff. And this is like right in the middle of it. And I think the runtime makes it more accessible than his other stuff because this one's only an hour and a half or hour and
Mhm.
40 minutes or something.
Yeah,
But
it's like an hour and 33 minutes. It is quite short, as
yeah,
far as like movies that are like this are. Um, Tim, you also own this movie.
I do. This is interesting because whenever I feel the need to rewatch this film, it's usually when I learn that there's a big screen showing of it somewhere in town. And so I've had this DVD. I think this Blu-ray, I think it was released in 2014. So I've had the Blu-ray and I had never opened it until I was prepping for this meeting. So I finally got to watch it on the small screen, and it really loses a lot if you don't see it on the big screen. I mean, incredibly so. I, I guess I think what happened was I enjoyed it less visually. It's still stunning on the small screen, but it wasn't. Um, I wasn't just sucked into the visuals, but on the positive side of that. Um, I I I was tuned into the performances more than I think I've ever been seeing it on the big screen. And I have lots of thoughts on that, um, but that we can get into as we go along. But it was definitely a different experience watching it on my 60-inch big screen as opposed to going to a theater. And even no matter if you did not like this film, please, 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 if you ever have the opportunity to see it on the big screen, go, go, and just go with it. Don't care about the performances. Don't care about the study, about the story. Just let yourself get um, just enmeshed by the visual experience, and I think you might enjoy it more.
I can see how seeing it on a big screen, like projected through film, would be a really good experience because it's a lot of stuff like this, like what we have on screen right now, like big, wide landscape shots of the farmland.
And
So,
that's kind of Terrence Malick's thing, is what I when I was going through this. This movie is interesting to me. I wouldn't say that I necessarily enjoyed watching it. I do think that it's absolutely beautiful. I don't usually go for vibe movies, but I'm willing to like set that prejudice aside if it's something that's like cinematography wise stunning. Um, like Train Dreams, which came out like last year, I think falls into that category. That's more of a vibe movie that is absolutely stunning from a cinematography standpoint. But this movie has the weird thing for me of I had heard of it before. I had never seen it before. And so I went into it with a lot of that hype. And so I did a lot of research afterwards of just like I'm missing something history wise or something about like the significance of this movie. And the more I learned about it, the more I disliked it.
You learn too much.
do tell.
A little bit. So, one of the big selling points for this movie is the cinematographer, Nestor Almendros, um, which again, for anybody that's watching this off, I don't have access to my screen right now, so I'm doing this all on memory. So by all means, I might get things wrong. Please correct me. Um, but he was going blind. So a lot of the ways that this was filmed was people taking pictures of it and then him going over it with a magnifying glass to see if he liked the setup and then them changing it. Um, and doing that. And interestingly, he went on to do a lot more movies after this as a cinematographer, which seems weird.
Well, I will say stuff like this is very impressive in the lighting and the color captured. Like that's very difficult to do on a film camera.
And it was difficult to do in real life. Um,
I think one of the another thing, yeah, he had to take the pictures and look, but I think that Nestor Almendros and John Bailey, who was the camera operator, um, developed this very tight relationship where Almendros really trusted John Bailey. And John Bailey went on to become one of the great cinematographers as well. And he was also the president of the Academy and passed away, I think, like 2 years ago. But a fabulous cinematographer in his own. And he was just a camera operator back then. And I think Almendros trusted him as well as what he was seeing in the magnified images that he was looking at.
and Heskel Wexler, who is also a cinematographer of quite well renowned, that also worked on this and took over and did a lot of the cinematography,
Yes, and
where
when
Nestor was also failing. Um, but he has an interesting philosophy to cinematography that I disagree with. This movie is shot pretty much entirely natural lighting. So it was very difficult to shoot. They shot it mostly at golden hour, which really only lasts like 15 to 30 minutes. They wanted to shoot like all of the seasons, so they were up there at this house for like short periods of time because that's all they could do with the lighting. Plus, setting all this up, they had to bring all of this gear in, which these vast landscapes where there's nothing going around, there's not a lot of place to set up like your camera village. Um, so they were carting a lot of this gear in, and Nestor Almendros believed in simplicity of work, so they didn't actually have a lot that they were bringing in. Um, so there also wasn't a lot to work with going through that. Um, but reading up on his philosophies with cinematography, he does believe in the simplicity. And he also believes that it's his job to capture the the images to match the story. It's not his job to have the technical know-how. So he would rely a lot on his camera operator and his assistants to actually get the shots looking correct.
John Bailey said basically that all the interiors were filmed with lights that were brought in. They were not filmed with natural light, the interior shots.
They were also shot on a soundstage.
That I was on. Well, this
Right,
the
Brian, I think has that. Maybe not a soundstage, but like
No,
they
I
weren't
thought they
shot
shot
on.
as much as they could in it, and it was they built that house for the movie. Like
Okay,
it's made out of plywood, I think.
Oh,
So it a soundstage? I mean, it's yeah,
that's actually a good point.
basically.
it's yeah, but it's not a facade. It's they built an entire temporary house for the movie,
Hmm.
and then decorated it with as many period accurate pieces, and like their wardrobe was all handmade with using materials from that time. There was a lot of expertise went into this movie. And I think maybe what you were getting at, Rebecca, was that he is a cinematographer who doesn't know camera stuff. He trusts he knows what he likes. He looks at a picture, he's like, I like that lighting. You guys did a great job. I'm gonna put my name on it. Right? Like,
mm,
and no no, you can disagree with me. I mean, please.
I
I call them white glove DPs, which I've worked with, which is they stay by Video Village. They walkie, hey, can you bring that light in closer? Bring an edge light up. Okay. And then that's it. That's the extent of they don't as soon as they say that's a wrap, they are in their car and gone. They do not wrap anything. They don't touch a light or a cable.
But it also feels very much lucky. And I have this complaint not just with Nestor Almendros in this movie, but also everything that I've learned about Terrence Malick and his working on it. And the way that he also does film, it feels like two people got together who just try things and it happened to work. And I really want like both Derek and Tim to fight me on this because like again, the more that I read about the process of going into this and like quotes from like the crew that was on set for it and also quotes from them directly and interviews and how they worked on previous films. This was Terrence Malick's second movie. Um,
the second feature.
yeah, second feature. Um,
Which is
Nestor had been
crazy.
doing other things beforehand, but he really like had like one huge hit cinematography wise before this. It just feels like a movie that it's lucky that it looks so good.
No.
And that is my review of it.
Tim disagrees. Well, I'll say your piece, and then I'm going to bring up another thing that learning more about this movie upset me.
If you look at all of Malick's work, all of it is very it's all very cinematic. Um, and from the interviews I've seen with Sam Shepard, and I think the reason that Sam Shepard actually turns in the very best performance of all the actors in this film was that first off, this is Sam Shepard's debut in a feature film as well. Malick, I think, either read one of his plays, or I think he saw him on stage in one of his plays because he was already a celebrated playwright at that point. And Malick saw something that he really wanted to in Shepard that he wanted to use. And I think one of the reasons that Shepard turns in the very best performance of everybody in this film is that they both Malick, Almendros, John Bailey, and Shepard were very simpatico and each understood what the other was trying to do in the film. Whereas I wouldn't say Gere was bitchy on the film, but when I was listening to his interview about working on the film, it was he was very about himself, which makes sense for the character. And that was one of the things that I realized watching it this time is just how much of an antagonist Bill actually is. I don't think I ever realized the extent that Bill was an antagonist in this film before. And the performance is almost wooden. Richard Gere didn't have a whole lot of experience at this point. But there's the way Sam Shepard talks about the other three principals, Bailey, Almendros, and Malick. They all seemed to understand what this film was going to be and what it was supposed to be, and Shepard was able to go with it in a way that Gere and the Hollywood camera people were not able to go with it because they just didn't understand. And I imagine this is similar to what Michael Cimino probably experienced when he was working on Heaven's Gate, another film that reminds me visually of this film as well.
I think my argument for this film is that I don't think it was made when it was made. I ended up reading the script for this that was written in 1976. There are some similarities between it, but I also know that on set, Terrence Malick regularly just got rid of dialogue to do it more silenced. I also know that Linda Mance, who plays Linda in this, also her debut. She did 60 hours of just improv work
Improv voiceover.
to do those voiceovers that they did after the fact because they realized in editing that it wasn't working.
It also took him 2 years to piece together a story.
Yeah.
I think when you shoot that much and again, I know he's beloved in the cinematography world, and again, a genius, but I don't know if that intent was there or if he had to create the intent in post, right? If you have to pour over and try to make a story out of the stuff you shot. I know I don't think I was on the call for Easy Rider. I hate Easy Rider.
We never did Easy Rider. We read
Oh,
a book
okay.
that it was a part of.
I hate that movie because it just feels so indulgent and like there's no story. It's just them goofing off and trying to like it reminds me about me in high school, right? Like, we're just gonna take the camera and shoot a
Yeah.
cool fight scene and we'll invent a story on set. It'll be fine.
That's kind of the point of that movie, though. It's kind of a film school movie, but
Well,
in
Easy
a
Rider
cinema.
Go back to that
it
one.
was the first of the like acid. Again, I didn't read the book with you guys. I'm sure you are more knowledgeable. But in my interpretation, it's we're gonna do a bunch of drugs and we're gonna shoot something crazy. And then you
Mhm.
watch it as a sober person, you're like, this is nothing. I hate everyone in this movie. And
Yeah,
I
I
don't
found
care that they get killed by two random truckers. I'm like, good. I'm glad this is how it ends.
Ryan
Sorry.
is also a hater, just so
Hey, I
you
was gonna
know.
say I love to hate.
Any
Sorry.
movie, he could absolutely adore a movie and he will find fault. He is a critic. He should be writing uh critic pieces. Um
I found a quote on Wikipedia from Malik about the shooting process, and it says that after 2 weeks of shooting, he was so disappointed with the dailies that he decided to toss the script and go wide instead of deep and shoot miles of film with the hope of solving the problems in the editing room.
yeah, and I noticed that with like a lot of his movies. I love like the like wide open space. Like he's a huge fan of big space subject in middle, but it kind of feels like shots that he meant as like a beautiful B-roll that kind of turned into the entire thing. That being said, and I do want to hear more from other people that, aren't me, but I do want to give credit to this scene,
Yeah,
which Ryan actually had to do a little bit of research on how it was done. And I actually thought it was very, very interesting because I think this
Yeah.
scene is beautiful. And how do you do that?
I was
yeah.
gonna say, yeah, I'm sure you guys know, but yeah, they're peanut shells. They dropped peanut shells from a helicopter, and then
Really?
had everybody on set walk backwards, and then they reversed it so it was waves and waves
Oh,
of locusts. No, they're peanut shells.
But also in terms of like framing, I think that he's really great at like framing all these people to leave as much sky in as possible. So everybody is perfectly spaced apart in all of these. But I do think that that's a really fascinating little thing.
yeah. I was going to mention that the locust scene and also the fire that comes immediately after that are exceptional, like just
Mhm.
amazingly shot, very beautiful. I was very impressed, and I was wondering myself, like, how did they do this in 1978?
Right, how they get millions of locusts. Yeah.
Well, and
It,
they did use live locusts for some shots. There were
yeah.
swarms of them.
Yeah. I do wonder about the ecological effects of flying in thousands of locusts into into Texas. I'm sure it's
Canada. It
fine.
was filmed in Canada.
Oh, very good.
Well, it's it that you mentioned that, and this is kind of a different subject, but I forget who it was who mentioned it. It might have been Bailey. Um, Apparently, it was originally scheduled to shoot in Texas, and it kept taking so long to get the production started that by the time they started shooting, the growth of wheat had moved up to the north to where they finally had to shoot in Alberta in order to find a working wheat field that they could do this.
Hmm.
Production problems.
How
I'm just
long was the
saying,
production on this?
oh God,
Mm.
uh, at least a year.
Because watching it, it felt like years. Like it felt like
They
actual years went by.
they specifically wanted to show all four seasons, and that's part of the reason why it took so long. Like I said, the script that I read was from 1976, and this was released in 1978. So in my brain, it was those 2 years, which doesn't sound ridiculous in the time frame. I do know that Terrence Malick is currently working on a movie that he finished filming in 2019, and he's still working on editing it. Um,
According
he
to Wikipedia, they started principal filming in late summer of '76.
okay.
So, but then plus editing time, 2 years after filming. So
But he
released in
was probably
78.
editing while he was filming, I also think was happening.
Yeah, I think somebody, it might have been Richard Gere, said that uh, I'm pretty sure it was this film where Gere said that he was able to look at his dailies every day
Yeah.
immediately, and that Malick supplied every actor with their dailies. So, yeah.
No, I remember hearing that too. So I think you are correct in that. Um, Also, it's the only way that I can imagine getting this done. I do know that Terrence Malick is very hands-on with his editing. Um, he worked really closely with the editor on this one, but also on Badlands, he actually fired the editor after the first cut and decided to do the rest of it himself. But somehow didn't get credited on that, and like I got mixed information on it. I don't know. Like I said, the deeper I got in researching this film, the more interested I got, and also the more I was like, I am so happy I was not on this set.
And again, remember, they shot it at golden hour. So they only could shoot for 20, maybe 30 minutes a day, with the exception of the night scenes and some of the day stuff.
Well,
But
also in the morning. They also shot in the morning.
sure.
Um, this was another thing that Bailey talked about. It wasn't like they were just sitting around not doing anything when it wasn't golden hour. They were planning their camera setups. They were laying dolly track. Malik was rehearsing the actors. They were planning all the scenes out so that once golden hour hit, they were ready to film right away. So it wasn't like everybody's just sitting on their asses doing nothing while, waiting for this to happen. And a lot of filming was all the interiors were done during the day. And there were a couple times where the sun was already gone. And I think it was that was probably John Bailey too. He said, I couldn't see Nestor, we couldn't see Terry, and Terry would say, let's just shoot this and see what we got. And they'd remove the filter that they were using during the golden hour shoot, and they would shoot. And that's where you get some of those beautiful blue shots, like that one of the scarecrow just in the field. That's just a really stunning shot, this beautiful shade of blue that
I thought that I had it, but I don't.
yeah, it's a great shot. It's just so fucking beautiful. So yeah, I mean, they
There
were
it is.
doing a lot of shooting outside of golden hour, particularly on interiors.
Right. But again, that was one of the crew complaints was they'd set up lights for things and then it'd be like, no, we're not going to shoot that. Let's turn them off. We're going to do something else. Which, when you're looking at your production day, it's not ideal. I again, it's one of those things of, and I don't want to offend anybody, but to call in my mind, the genius is like the forethought, like, oh, he had a vision and he accomplished the vision. And kind of this movie felt a little bit like, let's just shoot everything and whatever, I'll make it work later, right? Like it didn't feel directed. Also,
Hmm.
I don't know how accurate this is, but for the farmer, it was supposed to be John Travolta, which would have changed this movie dramatically. They tried to get Al Pacino or Dustin Hoffman. And then John Travolta was accepted he was accepted for Bill instead of Richard Gere, but
Mhm.
he had to shoot Welcome Back, Kotter. So they wouldn't let him go.
ABC wouldn't let him out of his contract.
Yeah. So imagine, like, I don't know. I think John Travolta would have been would have done great. It would have
There,
changed it
there are other
dramatically.
things that I do want to talk about this movie other than my own prejudices against film set things. I both hate and respect the sound design in this.
Oh, that's interesting.
Um,
Tell us in what ways.
this is just turning into me ranting.
No, I agree with you.
Um, so a lot of this movie in regards of like the natural lighting and um to go back to this screen. Um, and in terms of that, it's a very natural movie. It's portraying like these people that are like working class. It opens with the series of photographs of just people from that time frame, from this kind of forgotten class that we don't think about a lot, the working class of this time. Um, and then we go into like the steel mill where we can't hear anything over the sound of the machines. And that happens regularly, even when we go to the farm, where like people are talking and you can barely hear them talking to each other over the sounds of what's happening in the background. And a part of me like really respects that as like a way to tell this story, especially because I think the story is kind of interesting. It's told from Linda's point of view, where she's doing this like overlay, which I know going back to like it being edited and them using her as a way to try and pull this story together, it does kind of feel like a story that you're watching from the outside and you might not have all the details about.
Yeah, I didn't have a problem with that. It just seemed like the dialogue wasn't that important.
I mean, I was
Like
thinking
you get
about
the
it.
gist of what's happening without any speaking. So,
Mhm.
I was thinking about that while watching it this time, and I could totally see it without any Richard Gere was very pissed off because he worked so hard, and they did film a lot of the dialogue stuff, and Terry just trashed it. But I was watching it this time, and I was thinking about I was thinking about how you could just lose all the dialogue. You could arguably lose the voiceover as well, but I think the voiceover works well. And But I think you could go without not, without any dialogue and just the body language of the actors. You know, you watch Sam Shepard, and he tells you everything that you need to know just from his face. He's just so perfect in that role, and I think that Richard Gere's problems with the production helped make his body language and his facial expressions work for his character as well. So yeah, I would love to see this as without dialogue and just with Linda Manz's voiceover.
and you said, Rebecca, that she improvised all of that?
Or recite it. So it's listed as recited or improvised. And
Hmm.
like I said, I did read the original like script and like there are bits and pieces of it in between, but it seems like the voiceover moved from person to person as it was like telling it. And so they had her read those lines and then it was like, yeah, it's 60 hours of voiceover that they had her do.
Mm.
Most of it was
Sheesh.
improv,
I
which is
did,
why it feels like she just kind of goes on these rambling
She
rants
just
occasionally.
goes, yep.
and they leave mistakes in. Like she makes
Mhm.
mistakes as she's speaking, and they just left it. I thought that was interesting. I was like, why make that choice?
Gear said about her on set, I want to say he used the term feral. I know he said she was like a wild child. She just was she took to this part and she was just very natural in playing the part. I imagine Malik just let her go and saw that she was doing something that made the film interesting and just kept it all in.
I'd like to hear Derek's thoughts.
Yeah, Derek's been very
So would
quiet.
I.
He's muted. There he goes.
Yeah, I really like the voiceover. I think I basically agree that the dialogue is maybe not that important. I kind of I think this is taken more to an extreme in Terrence Malick's later films, but I kind
Tree of
of
Life.
have the feeling that each individual person in his movies is not quite important, but it's more of this collective humanity that he's trying to capture. And in this one, there are a lot of very interesting details. Like they don't get much dialogue or focus, but there are like more immigrants in in the work fields, and the camera does focus in on them sometimes. And he like I think for the time period when this was made, it was kind of an just a different way of casting, and also just to not focus on the supposed protagonist that much. And it does, I think the mistakes in the voiceover just add to the feeling that this is a little girl's point of view and that she's possibly like remembering all this stuff, but it's all kind of jumbled together. And there's like the flying circus comes to the house and that receives a lot of screen time, but then Richard Gere is off camera a lot of times and stuff like that. But
It is an
yeah,
interesting question of who is the main character of this movie.
yeah, I think in the beginning, I mean, if you're going into it with the mindset of like a traditional movie, in the beginning, it definitely seems like Richard Gere is the main character or the protagonist. But I think as the movie goes along, you probably start to realize that the girl is the main character, and also that Richard Gere, his character is kind of a moron, which is also interesting because he comes up with this lie that he and his girl actually, oh, I was just gonna say I don't remember if they're married or not, but I don't
I
think
don't
that.
think it
No,
says.
they're not.
Yeah, but anyway, he comes up with this lie that they're brother and sister, which is one of the dumbest lies. Like, there's no point to it, and it just creates a lot of problems when like people are accusing them of incest and things like that, and he starts a fight with that one other worker and stuff like that. But yeah, so it's kind of up for debate who the main character is. I would say overall the little girl is probably the main one.
She's the only
But
one that we follow throughout, so
yeah. And yeah, I would also say to the general feeling of this movie coming together by luck, I do think he has a very improvisational director style. But one thing that's interesting about the special features on this disc, is that all of the technical people basically give their props to Terrence. Like they say that he was the most knowledgeable person on set when it came to like lighting and film stock. They said that he knew more about film stock than the Kodak representative who was like bringing them film or whatever. So I do think it's kind of like a Picasso situation where he is very technically advanced, but he chooses not to be in a way. Like he is going for like this kind of this point of view of nature itself. And um, it is like it's improvisational and it probably annoyed the people on set. But you also have to remember that people like his actual collaborators seem to love him and they keep coming back. Like the production designer on this was Jack Fisk. So Jack Fisk was responsible for building this house in the background. And Jack Fisk has kept coming back to Terrence Malick in project after project. He also worked with David Lynch a lot, and he also production designed that Timothy Chalamet ping pong movie recently.
Marty
Oh,
Um,
Supreme.
you know,
yeah, yeah,
I have
Marty's.
I will say the set design and the period costumes and everything is really well done in this film, but I have a bone to pick with the costume designer.
oh,
And
what's
that
that?
is her wedding dress. Why was it see-through? Like
Was it see-through?
it was, and they couldn't have like given her a slip or something to wear. It seems like an
I'm not
odd
gonna lie, I
choice.
didn't notice, but it could
Neither
also
did
be
I.
in line with the time frame of,
But
not having it, just
it
using what's
doesn't
on
seem
hand.
like you would want to be in the early 1900s standing up in front of a whole group of people like with all your stuff showing. Like that doesn't make any sense.
To Derek's points, I actually have two pieces of fact that I learned about Terrence Malick over my research of this. The first is that he is a science guy. He was valedictorian. He went to a pretty academically heavy school. His dad was a scientist. And then he was like, I don't want to study science. I want to study philosophy, and then became a like philosophy professor for a while before going like to film school. He just kind of has an interest. So it's not surprising to me at all that he has technical knowledge on like how things work or like the wanting to make things work. It's also not surprising to me that he does come at it from a like kind of improv thing. He's a guy that's interested in how things work, but more interested in human nature is kind of the things that I got from reading about him. And
Awesome.
I gathered this from his most recent movie that he's still working on editing that he filmed back in 2019. It is an epic biblical story. And the title of this movie is Days of Heaven. And so to go back to the fact that he won't say that Abby is his wife or girlfriend or whatever it is that they are, he says that's his sister. That's a really common lie from the Bible, where during that time frame, a lot of the men in the Bible regularly say that their wives are their sisters for various reasons that also don't really make sense to me in the moment when I'm reading the stories, but um I think he also has that religious background. And so a movie titled Days of Heaven, which you have to question why is it called that?
Hmm. Yeah,
There is a lot of linear things with the Bible in it.
I didn't know that about the brother and sister biblical stuff, but there is a ton of Bible stuff in this movie going on. Like when like in the beginning in the steel mill when Richard Gere kills his boss, I guess. It's a very Cain and Abel type of killing. Um and I think like the wheat field could be like a stand-in for like the Garden of Eden in a way, at least from the little girl's point of view, where she thinks that this is like just a heavenly place. So yeah, I can totally buy that the brother and sister lie could also come from the Bible.
Yeah, I didn't get a lot of the parallels when I was like watching the movie, but I realized that after the fact. And also, yeah, Days of Heaven just being because this is probably one of the best times in Linda's life.
Hmm.
It's also the plague of locusts.
Yes,
Yeah,
Um,
a very,
that def
very
I
obvious biblical
definitely.
reference
Sam Shepard talked about this. He really um, pointed out that much of the film is is much of the story and what we see to extent again to Ryan's point about the story, minimal or not, that what we're seeing is based a lot on the Bible. That was what Shepard's takeaway was, and he's somebody who I would trust that observation.
Hmm.
Boy, that
there.
shut down the conversation,
I
didn't
mean,
Well,
I
I
mean,
mean,
yeah.
I'm just thinking of the obvious symbolisms that I picked up on while watching, and it was really only two during, just my first time viewing the film was in the beginning, the narration about the rapture,
Mhm.
and then obviously the plague of locusts. Like that's a very obvious one.
Yeah. So it made me wonder about how we get there, because the plague of locusts and the burning of the fields, and so um, there's a couple of sins that we can look at. The opening sequence, which Derek referred to, where he kills his boss, and kind of a Cain and Abel feel to it, and then there's the adultery, aspect from Brooke Adams' character, Abby, and it begins to put it if we look at it that way, it begins to put all the narrative points into the appropriate slots that kind of make the whole thing work as kind of a biblical story as a whole. Cool.
Was there anything, because we are going to be coming up on an hour here in like 15 minutes or so. Was there anything specific? Like I said, this has been me ranting for a lot of it. So if there's anything that anybody wants to talk about specifically in regards to this movie, please let me know.
In talking about the cinematography and Malick's knowledge of film, Nestor Almendros in his autobiography, which I don't have handy here at the moment, said that once he got to meet Malick and got up to the set and started working, he realized that he and Malick were a perfect match for doing the kind of film that Malick wanted to make because they both saw very eye to eye, and he realized that he could have technical discussions with Malick that he typically wasn't able to have with directors that he worked with, and that Malick he could just have those conversations without straining for either party to understand what the other was talking about.
I mean, I know that Terrence Malick specifically looked him up, like found him because he wanted to do everything with like the natural lighting.
Mhm.
Um, I personally don't think that I would mesh well with them.
You know, I guess the only thing I really want to, we talked a little bit about the biblical aspect, right? Days of heaven. These are the best times for her. Is there any aspect? I was watching the movie and I was trying to is there any unreliable narrator in this? Like the fact, so okay, this is gonna sound weird. I watched the movie and my first reaction was, is Linda a psychopath? Because she reacted to nothing and was just kind of like very flat. Like, again, she's young, but like all this stuff's happening, she's very just go with the flow, smoking cigarettes just all the time, just walking around. And is there any element of, if this is from her perspective, is any of that, you know, her misremembering, or rather her remembering it as, oh man, everything was so great back then. Some airplanes came out of the sky and they all put on a circus for us, and we all had teas and they threw food at me, and like, I don't know.
I kind of found myself thinking that towards the end because there were certain parts of the story that she would narrate that I'd be like, how would she know that? Like that happened outside of her view. Like unless somebody told her about it later, or she's like just filling in gaps in her memory or something.
Or yeah, making up the story to fill the gaps is kind of my
Yeah.
interpretation of it. Um, Reading the initial script from 1976, she was supposed to be Abby's little sister, and the story starts off with Bill and his brother getting into a gang fight, and the like gangsters killing his brother, and that what gets him to run away with them.
Because he owes money, yeah.
If I remember correctly, it's that they owed money. Um, so it's kind of like, I don't know, in my head after reading that, I'm like, oh, this is what actually happened. He owed money to some people and needed to run away. And this is just like the accidental death of a foreman was just like her way of dealing with it.
Maybe.
And then my last like little bit is, what was this movie actually about? Like, what? I'm not saying you have to take away a lesson of don't murder people. Like, that's pretty. I still think if he had stuck around, they would have gotten away with it because guy had a gun. He defended himself. I plus there's plenty of witnesses saying that he tried to kill him in a cornfield with fire. Like,
Hmm,
I'm just
I
saying
don't
he could
know.
have gotten away with it
Yeah,
if
I
he
think I disagree
didn't
with you
run.
on that
Yeah,
one. I don't
I
think he
don't
would be
think
able to get
so.
away with it.
He was a poor farmhand and he killed the owner of the farm who was like a son to the farm's like first hand guy. Like I don't and who had connections to the police. Yeah, I don't think so.
But
I
I only
think
think. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I don't know. Dude had a gun on him, was killed with a screwdriver, like clearly defensively, like also again, witnesses. If they had stuck around and they could talk to the guy the old farm guy is like, he's a son to me. Um, you
Yeah,
know,
he killed him. So go get him.
well, but I'm saying if they had stuck around and like she had to be like, no, it's he was angry at this and blah blah. Like I think they ran and they could have gotten away with it.
Nah.
Yeah,
I don't think
I'm
it.
a nah on that too. But in answer to your
Um,
question is what this movie was about, and I was giving that a lot of thought last night, trying to get beyond just the beauty of the film and get to the story. And I think you see these two different men who Sam Shepard obviously comes from a higher status than Richard Gere and Brooke Adams characters, and I think this was an attempt to not an attempt, but kind of a picture of how it was for working class people at the time and for people who had money. Um, because Richard Gere's character, Bill, um, isn't just born the conniving bastard that he is. He was created, and he was created by the society in which he came up with as a low-paid working class, what proper people would call a piece of shit if they had that language back then. Nobody gave a shit about these people, and they wouldn't, they had no problem with killing them if they needed to, and they get away with it because the people with money had connections to law enforcement, and it'd be no problem sweeping something like that under the rug. So I think it's just kind of in a way, it's a snapshot of the difference between working class people and people who were well off in that time. And Brooke Adams is Abby is that character that like has to choose between the guy who's got who's got stuff and can give her a comfortable life, and the guy who she's in love with who seems like a bit of a piece of shit.
Yeah, and going back to Rebecca's question earlier about is Linda a psychopath? I mean, you kind of have to look at the circumstances in which she's existing. Like she's very young. She's what, like 12 or something?
Yeah, she's 12.
Um, and her life sucks. Like they just move around from place to place. They don't have any like steady home. Obviously don't have any money. They're just barely scraping by. And yeah, I can see how that would desensitize you to a lot. So I don't think she's necessarily a psychopath. It's just she's a product of her circumstance.
Yeah, I'm
And
is
with
this
living
Beckett
in
on that one.
1916 is a psychopath, is what we've come to the conclusion of. Got it.
or is it a parasite situation of like, look at these lower classes, they deserve to be down there because they're lesser. Look at them all murdery.
Well, that's exactly what I said.
Yeah.
So I don't like that message. I disagree with that message.
You think historically that's not how it was back then?
That they were lesser.
Yes.
I don't
No,
think
not that they were lesser,
people.
that they were perceived as lesser.
Oh, sure, but I mean, so what's the moral of the movie? Is that
Well,
they're
I don't know if there is one. I found myself asking after it was over, what was the point of that?
yeah, that. Thank you. Yes,
So,
It's a vibe movie. And does
it's
a
a
vibe movie
vibe.
ever have a point?
I like Linda's friend. Just
she's probably my favorite character.
yeah, yeah. They just kind of ran away. Yeah, he's gonna buy me a fur.
A fa,
Yeah.
a fa.
A fa.
Apparently, that actress was up for the part of Linda. Like, she was up for the main role of Linda. And Terrence Malick liked her enough that he just created this friend, which again goes to his like improvisational style. Um, but yeah, like I would also have trouble coming up with like a way to summarize the point of this movie because it is very much a vibe movie. I think the story is sort of um it kind of sets up this love triangle in a way. I mean it's but then it like goes in directions that you don't necessarily expect, like Richard Gere leaving halfway through the movie and like just and then when he comes back, he's not angry at the rich guy. He's not angry that his girlfriend is married to him and like it it goes in interesting directions like that, and it doesn't have a happy ending either. Because Richard Gere dies, and then the girl runs away from whatever school she was sent to,
Ballet
and
school.
Yeah.
yeah, and it like yeah, it is mostly a vibes movie, and it's like mm, I don't like always like going back to that because it feels like an excuse or something, but this really is, in a way, it's almost like the prototypical vibes movie because this style was, I think, really new back then, back in 1970,
I
1978.
Yeah,
Like
I
it,
can't think of a movie that's like this that comes before.
yeah, exactly. And earlier you mentioned Train Dreams. I mean, without this movie, I don't think Train Dreams would exist, at least not
Absolutely.
in its current form. So this style um, just became very influential for indie filmmakers, especially people like David Gordon Green, who made George Washington in the year 2000. And it like uses this style. And there are other indie directors who come along from time to time who use the Terrence Malick style. But yeah, but yeah, like even though I really like the movie, it is hard to summarize what it's about. I think it is like about um in a way like just how life goes in unexpected directions. And if you just like hang back and watch nature take its course, then something will happen, but you won't know what it'll
I
be.
I feel like
Um,
after having slept on it and had some time to consider it, I think it's just a vignette of working class life at that time.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
unpredictable, unrooted, just kind of like flying by the seat of your pants. Anything can happen.
Yeah. It's
yeah,
more about nature and the world around it than I think it is any
yeah,
particular
exactly.
aspect of
Like
the story.
it's nature and like humans trying to deal with nature. And in the case of the rich man, he's like trying to make money off of nature, but then he gets a plague of locusts anyway, and then it burns down, and you never can tell what'll happen. I think another interesting like pivot that the story takes is that the rich guy is not really a bad guy. Like he doesn't, if you look at the movie from his point of view, he doesn't really do anything wrong because he doesn't know it. I mean, he's kind of stupid for believing the lie at first that these two people are brother and sister. But other than that, he just sort of like goes with the situation, and like he seems to treat his workers okay in the sense that he is aloof from them, but he does like go to their blessing of the wheat field, and he like um I don't know, seems to sit amongst them even though he's not really talking to them.
He
Um
partied with them when
yeah.
they
Yeah.
brought in
Yeah.
the
He
wheat.
almost feels like he's unaware of it's like he's unaware that he's not necessarily invited. Is a bad way of putting it because I don't think that it's necessarily that they don't want him there, but it does feel kind of like this isn't his world, but he doesn't quite understand it yet.
I think Shepard used the word innocence to describe
Yeah.
his character. He's very innocent. And yeah, and he's really, for me, he's the only really empathetic character other than Linda. I just and I really got that sense more watching it this time again because I had the smaller screen and I started paying attention to the performers more. And he's the person that I felt uh, I just felt more empathetic to him than I did to anyone else in the film.
I did until the end. He got scary at the end. Like he
I mean,
snapped.
He
he was
did,
attempting
He had his
murder.
limit.
Well,
but
and you didn't know what he was going to do to Abby. Like he tied her up on the stoop.
Yeah, that
Yes.
scene just kind
What?
of that scene just kind of ended. I thought for sure there'd be
A resolution to that?
a follow up something.
But he was so utterly betrayed by them. I mean, I'm not saying what he was doing was right, but I'm saying that it's understandable to feel that, particularly when you've fallen in love with somebody like that and find out that they were just scamming you the whole time, which I do believe that Abby was not. I think Abby did love the farmer.
Oh,
I think
100%.
she fell in
Yeah.
love with him, but she
I
also loved Bill.
I feel like I have more sympathy for Abby because, I mean, as a woman, I can relate to her experience. But also,
Hmm.
like, at that time, she's got a choice between a guy that she's been with who can't really make ends meet, who she does love, or a guy who can give her a nice, comfortable life, like something stable, something worth, sticking around for. And I think
And
that
he's
she,
dying. He's gonna die. So fingers.
Well,
yeah,
I don't think she knows him to begin with. Like when he's trying to like
no,
get in
definitely
with her,
not.
she's not really receptive to him.
No.
Yeah.
She married him for money
She
with the
married him for
plan
money and found it
as
along the way.
as a con, granted that, she was under the assumption that he would die shortly after their marriage and then she would inherit his wealth. Like, sure. But along the way, she did learn to care for him and, possibly love him and, chose him over what's his name? Bill, Richard Gere's character.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they had no communication around that at all. Like he just assumed that regardless of whatever their circumstance was, she was going to cheat with Bill whenever he was around, and that's what set him off.
Yeah.
Um,
I interpreted the scene where they kind of like where Bill and Abby meet kind of for the last time. It kind of felt like she chose the farmer over him
yeah,
and he
no,
was
that's
gonna
what I'm
leave.
saying. That's
If
what I'm
everyone
saying.
just stops doing things, it's things would
Right,
have
just
resolved. Wow.
relax, talk to your wife, everything will be okay.
Communication is key in a relationship.
Yes.
Or murder
Anyways, we
quick.
are over an hour now, so I do need to end the stream for the night.
Do we still have that even on Zoom? We're limited to an hour.
I'm limited to an hour with
Oh, I did.
clubs in
Okay.
general.
Well,
With life.
we can end the stream.
So I do need to end the stream for the night, but I do want to thank you guys for joining me, and I hope to catch you on the next one.